Well, you came to the right place. My name is Natalie, and I'm going to share with you some of my short story. So get comfortable, relax, and enjoy the ride. I'm going to read part of one of my short stories. It's called The Red Letter, and the cover looks like this. It is available on Amazon, so feel free to get a copy. A digital copy is that's what's available. But I'm just gonna go ahead and read you part of the story, and if you like what you're hearing, or I don't know. I have no idea what I'm saying right now. I'm just rambling. Maybe it's just me being a little hesitant to share with you my story, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway. All right. So the red letter, and here we go. Peyton turns away from her desk, solid and chosen from a local tree hugger who gets compensated with the swings of his axe. She simultaneously looks outside of her own 200-story building and at herself on the glass, impervious to gravity and held together by pressure. She sees a landscape of stationary buildings outside. Peyton sees these buildings and imagines paradise in her own mind, which protects her from failure. In the midst of crowded buildings, she can't hear as much. Silence brings her closer to the paradise she dreams of as she looks out. Peyton is alone because misery loves company. Did I get here because I don't believe in God, or is it that somebody up there other than God likes me? It's not easy being liked, Peyton thought. Peyton peers over to a picture of a cash check framed with $5 billion. Peyton was worth more than she thought. That was her reminder. She couldn't let go of making more if there was more to make. Thanks to her mind, nobody could stop her except herself. Peyton briefly paused her delusions of grandeur with a glance of the first floor. That must be a painful death, Peyton thought. Hopefully I die old. My profession has risks. I wonder if I chose the right profession. I might have enough money to change my mind, Peyton thought. Peyton wore black, a color that wasn't real, but she wore anyway. There were times when Peyton didn't feel herself, that this life was chosen by someone else. Growing up, she never wanted to become rich. She desperately wanted to become happy. Money has given her a certain level of freedom, but never enough happiness. Peyton felt lost as she looked at her reflection. I've worked hard to become free, but not happy. Could these two aspects of life coexist? Her reflection was all she felt she had. Her assistant came into her office, dressed as if she owned companies herself. Your 5 o'clock canceled, Peyton's assistant recited while looking down at her phone. Peyton slowly turned around. Peyton didn't have time for the right answer. She had to ask about her invention. How's the Wiggler machine? Any luck? The prototype was successful, the assistant said confidently. Great, that's what I expected. The assistant smiled, appearing happier than Peyton. I guess we usually get what we expect. I'll have to disagree with you. How so? Do you think that we must expect more? How do we know what to expect? We are taught to expect, especially as women. Well, it looks like you've won this argument. You should be wearing blankets instead of jeans and a t-shirt. My shareholders would probably ask me to leave. It wouldn't matter if I owned Volterra. Peyton chortled. The private jet is boarding all of us. Remember, you're supposed to be in Tokyo to conduct business about your current card security. Oh yeah, I forgot. When will the plane be ready? We should be boarding in about 2 hours. Should I get you something to eat? I'll be fine. Did Tokyo say anything about bringing the Wiggler prototype? Just bring yourself. What you carry up there, nobody knows what to do with it except you. The assistant vicariously points to her head as Volterra's source of income. Alright, I'll make sure I pack a change of clothes. I'm supposed to remind you about bringing your good luck charm. You mean my rabbit's foot? Whatever it is, you're supposed to bring it. You gotta work on your sense of humor. I suppose my good luck charm will make the flight go smoothly. Will you be boarding soon? I have to let the crew know. Yes, I will be there in half an hour. I certainly hope the pilot isn't tired, Peyton thought. Well, pilots do get tired. Alright, I'll be there soon. Peyton took out the good luck charm from her pocket, which she always kept with her. It was a chunk of pyrites. A fool only knew how she became a billionaire. Peyton walked out of the office with the light turning itself off. It was only a matter of time before the good luck charm proved its value. A rock that pretended to be real saved her from the worst outcome, which was living without air. The Volterra jet flew across the sky with Peyton and her 10 team members, who were responsible for a company built on an idea that granted them access to fly across an unoccupied sky. Peyton not only knew how to run a company, but she had the ability to gain the trust and respect of all of her team members. This was a rare aspect of her personality, and one reason why she couldn't put a price tag on her company. As a woman easily worth digits in the 8th place, she could move the world with the weight on her shoulders. With her dedicated team, they were on their way to Tokyo. Volterra, Peyton's company, created a security platform that protected people who combined their credit cards with their driver's licenses. People only needed one card to confirm their identity and pay for almost anything. Volterra provided security for people who combined their identities with their finances. Peyton's CFO, Vahe, couldn't keep it to himself anymore. He was waiting to tell Peyton how much he loved her. He was built physically for this moment, but couldn't stop perspiring out of his white shirt. The television on the jet showed clips of the Kennedy assassination. Although it happened 50 years ago, it always started a conversation amongst the team members. Presidents don't get assassinated very often, the team thought as they talked about the exception to the rule. Whiskey was a drink of choice, enough for several rounds. Whiskey allowed for a very laid-back meeting, one that didn't cost a dime to conduct. Brainstorming was always encouraged, as long as the scotch wasn't wasted. Peyton, a little buzzed but not drunk enough to be in anybody's custody, went into the room to change before calling it a night. It didn't matter what time zone she was in. Her confused body needed rest. Vahe saw her leave the room with her team members and found an excuse to talk to her while she undressed. Of course, without him looking. He would never look unless Peyton allowed him to. Vahe's reputation as a CFO consisted of counting instead of losing money. Thanks to his philosophy, Peyton's company has remained successful. Vahe knocked on the door, a little louder than usual. I think you left a few cases of whiskey on the floor. I wanted to bring it in here so nobody trips over them. Oh, sure. I was just taking out my contacts. Hold on, let me put on my glasses so I can see you. Vahe waited patiently behind a door he could easily tear down. It was now the only barrier that blocked him from expressing his devotion to Peyton. Oblivious to the weight of his feelings that he held back, he easily traded it for the weight of the whiskey boxes instead. Can I come in now? Sure. Vahe, holding 2 heavy boxes of whiskey, titled Plush Pandemic, runs into the room to quickly find a place to put them. He drops them carefully onto the floor by the standalone mirror. When he puts them down, he rises and reflexively looks at himself in the mirror. Are you admiring yourself? Peyton laughed a little, curious about Vahe's self-love. Yeah, kind of. I like to look at myself when I use my muscles. It kind of gives me a high. Those boxes of whiskey were really heavy. I don't think you can move them yourself. I'm sure I'll find a way. Oh, sure, Peyton. You always find a way. So, you like to look at the mirror. I do too. Do you admire yourself? Vahe asked, almost expecting Peyton to say no. No, I use the mirror to talk to myself. The mirror is my tool to help me build self-confidence. Peyton takes the last swig of her whiskey, which was by the nightstand. Peyton examines the cup after drinking it. The name of this whiskey is terrible. Why make money on a word that scares people? Pandemics don't occur often. Maybe it's supposed to be ironic. That time can only get rid of a pandemic, even with the right vaccine. Maybe it's a statement that anything time-consuming requires money. The whiskey is also very smooth, which is why it's expensive. Vahe looked down as if he was searching for stains on the carpet. His heart instinctively pumped in his ears, alerting him of his voracious heartbeats. He looked at Peyton through the mirror. The mirror, now witness, reflected Vahe's pending feelings towards Peyton. Vahe talked to Peyton through the mirror. Are you lonely, Peyton? I think you're asking a personal question, Vahe. Why do you need to know that? Vahe could tell he pinched one of Peyton's nerves. He came a little closer towards her. The mirror captured the dance he was trying to initiate. Vahe wished that the mirrors could record this moment. Mirrors forget too quickly. I don't want you to be lonely. It's tough to be so successful by yourself. I'm only successful because nobody else would listen to me. I had no other choice but to listen to myself, and this is the result. And if I wasn't successful, you wouldn't be here talking to me. And just so you know, you're looking at a reflection. There's nothing past a reflection. This reflection might not show you what you want, but you don't need a mirror to know who you are. I know who I am. You don't have to tell me who I am. Well, that's it, isn't it? Maybe I'm the only person in the world who doesn't know, but can't accept my ignorance. Vahe came closer to Peyton, almost close enough to share her oxygen supply. I'm sure you know who you are, but I don't know who you are. I want you to show me, please. Vahe looked at the clothes that Peyton left on the countertop. We are high in the sky for a reason. There's something you should know. Just for a moment, forget what you've become. What are you trying to say? You've come this far in your life because someone took away your ability to love. Peyton couldn't follow along. Vahe was becoming more direct with his words, and she wasn't sure if he was trying to insult or help her. Vahe, you're not making sense. I always make sense. That's why I handle your money. Is this what I'm supposed to know? No, it's not. Maybe it is something to consider. So, what do I need to know? Vahe locked his eyes with Peyton's, which only had contacts on. I've seen you struggle. I don't want you to struggle by yourself anymore. Peyton couldn't move away from Vahe. It was a moment that Peyton found awkward, but Vahe couldn't stop. I could see your naked soul right now. You look wonderful. Vahe clutched Peyton into his built arms, while Peyton remained a little hesitant. Peyton grew uncomfortable with his tightening grip, as this was an act she never experienced. A little dumbfounded, Peyton needed further explanation. I love you, Vahe whispered in Peyton's ear. The plane shook as if struggling to stay in the sky. Vahe and Peyton felt a jolt of adrenaline together, holding each other until they came up with a solution. But there was no solution, especially since they'd never experienced turbulence before. Mayday, mayday, the pilot primitively yelled into the radio without holding back. It happened quickly. The plane descended without any control, scattering itself around the sky. It was another example of freefall, this time leading to tragedy. The team members could no longer see each other as the lights shut off abruptly. This felt like the last time. Peyton screamed in unison with the other team members. It wasn't the right time to breathe in deeply. The oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, but they were barely visible. This was when Peyton knew that the jet was going to crash. She, along with the rest of the team, didn't know if they were going to wake up. Peyton woke up coughing and fighting a lot of jet lag. As she opened her sore eyes, she realized she wasn't dreaming or dead. She was, in fact, alive. She was on a medium-sized island, lush yet dry. The island appeared separated from the rest of the world, particularly since it looked abundant. Palm trees drew the boundary, and the air brought a chill to Peyton's pale skin. Peyton felt goosebumps as a result of the breeze and the life she knew, now put on hold. Where am I? Peyton thought. She looks behind her with a bruised eye and her injured pride. The pilot must have been tired, Peyton told herself. I shouldn't have waited so long to board the jet. Peyton felt fully accountable for the team that she lost, but she couldn't feel encumbered by the burden of losing the people that she cared for. Peyton had to find a way to stay alive. Walking barefoot away from her team, who weren't as lucky as she was, she turns around towards the jet. Her clothes were soiled with blood. There was a cold breeze that made her feel like she was naked, while the sand warmed up her feet, almost burning them. Peyton reaches into her pocket and feels the bulge of her pyrite rock. With a sigh of relief, Peyton returned to the jet and found Vahe. Peyton shook him, almost hoping that he fell asleep. I've never seen him so peaceful, Peyton thought. I wish I saw him this way in my bed instead of dead in a plane. Vahe knew how to keep a secret, Peyton thought. Peyton climbed out of the jet, almost out of breath. The jet was in paradise, and also in the middle of nowhere. It was a dream and a nightmare at the same time. I didn't prepare for this, Peyton thought. I feel like I've failed my company, the people who trusted me with their lives. I feel like I've failed myself. What do I have right now? Peyton thinks while bending down and running sand through her hands. I've lost everything that I've built. My empire isn't inside my building right now. It is crashed on sand, and almost nothing ever grows from sand. She takes out her pyrite, hoping that there's still some charm left of it. Her charming confidence disappeared, at least for now. In fact, Peyton was confident that she was going to starve to death. This is going to be a painful death. Peyton's eyes watered again as she looked out into the horizon, devoid of a straight line. For once, Peyton didn't know what to do, and there was nobody to turn to. She felt lonely and lost as an occupant of paradise. A coconut fell from the palm tree close by, almost missing her head. She walked quickly toward the coconut, as if she wasn't the only occupant in the island. But she was. Nobody was going to fight for the coconut. How do I open this? Peyton thought as she held it in her hand. That's when she knew that her life wasn't going to last. She learned how to become rich, but couldn't choose life over death. Peyton walked around the island. Her time as a human being was coming towards an end, since she didn't believe in reincarnation. Peyton walked around a little dehydrated, but instead chose to ignore the vast body of clear water that surrounded and prevented her from leaving the island. Peyton kept walking. Wiping the sweat off of her face, she almost gasped at what was in front of her. It appeared to be a small hut attached to another bigger hut. She ran towards it, unaware of what it stored inside. She approached the door, which didn't have a lock. Let's just see what's inside, Peyton thought. Maybe someone who lives here could help me. The door creaked as she entered, the inherent doorbell of an unwelcome guest. Inside the room was a gun, left alone on the table. The gun appeared untouched since it was accumulating dust. Peyton looked around the room with little light, unsure if she was being watched and maybe a little paranoid. The door was closed by the wind. A little startled, Peyton gradually came close to the gun. She held it in her hand, oblivious to its loaded weight. All this time I've never touched a gun before. Peyton thought back to any memories in which guns were involved. This is definitely a first, Peyton thought. Gustavo stands by the door, separating his bedroom. He watched Peyton as she examined the gun, showing off her inexperience with it. Gustavo questioned to himself whether the gun was loaded. He remembers using it a couple of days ago for sport. You've chosen a great place to die. You have enough ammunition to blow your mind. Peyton quickly turned around and pointed the gun naively towards Gustavo, unaware of the weight of responsibility she was carrying. He was confident that she wasn't going to waste a bullet on him. Trust me, I'm the last person on this planet you'd want to shoot. Besides, that's my gun you're holding. Put it down. Peyton quickly identified Gustavo's tone as calm and friendly. He doesn't really need a bullet between his eyes, Peyton thought. She put the gun down. You were just holding on to my favorite possession in the entire universe. Do you know why it's my favorite? Peyton was a little confused by Gustavo's question. It was a question that she wasn't quite used to answering, if there was an answer. No, I don't. It's because I never ever feel guilty when I use it. Ever. If God made anything better, he would have kept it to himself. That gun you're holding on to helps me believe in a higher power. Peyton couldn't understand where this conversation was going. Distance kept both of them alive. The lethally expensive alternative was close proximity. You're more than welcome to stay, Gustavo recited as he put away leftover bullets on the wooden bench. Peyton caught a glimpse of his left forearm, kissed by the sunlight and tattooed with a large chemical compound that she couldn't recognize. Peyton realized that she truly didn't know everything. Well, I don't really have a choice, do I? Peyton didn't want to stay inside a room with a gun any longer. Gustavo tried to read Peyton's expression, but the room was a little dark. Maybe you do have a choice. Gustavo held a bullet between his soldered fingers, almost showing Peyton how naked it was without a gun. Are you rich? Gustavo inquired. Peyton bit her tongue. She didn't want to give this man everything, including the truth. Maybe. I'm just a little stranded right now and I feel scared. Gustavo tried to crack a joke, unaware of Peyton's success that she left behind a jet, mistakenly folded like paper on the other side of the island. I'm still looking for a rich woman, so I can start a civilization here. Gustavo obviously didn't know Peyton well in the absence of light. Wholly insulted, Peyton looked disgustingly at Gustavo, almost tempted to reach for the gun again. I'm just pulling your leg. You must know a lot about something. Not many people casually end up here. If you can get me out of here, I will pay you back. Name the price, any price. Young lady, your currency doesn't work here, whatever it may be. You'll just have to depend on good old-fashioned grace. Peyton didn't feel like owing Gustavo anything, and Peyton didn't have an objective for staying on the island. She constantly thought of a way out, but always ended up in checkmate. The island, though beautiful and surrounded by clear water, wasn't Peyton's idea of a vacation. There was no way of checking out. Look, there's nothing to worry about here. Just don't ever get on my bad side, and we'll be okay. Peyton took another look at the gun she held, now lifeless on the table. Serendipity brought her here, she thought, to know such a man undomesticated by civilization. I must be lucky to be alive right now. You got that right. I might have an important lesson for you. Maybe I can teach you that crisis and opportunity are soulmates. Peyton checked her front pockets, soiled with blood samples of her former team. Do you have a change of clothes? I've left everything behind. My pockets are mostly empty. Well, I guess we'll need to start from scratch. Follow me. I have something to show you. My name is Gustavo. I'm Peyton. Peyton shakes Gustavo's hand firmly, tacitly making a deal to keep her alive. Peyton walked across the creaking hardwood floor outside. Peyton certainly did have something to learn. That's what kept her alive. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed my short story. I guess I did write this story. I think it was during the pandemic when we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and I guess that was my inspiration for the name of the whiskey in the story. I think that was, I called it the plush pandemic because it reminds me of when I wrote the story. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope that you learned something new today.